Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Lakewood City Council meeting for this Monday, July 7, 2025. It's good to see all of you here in the audience tonight and those of you who are attending via Zoom. Madam Clerk, if you'd please call the roll.
Councilmember Bell.
Here.
Councilmember Boki.
Here.
Councilmember Brandstetter.
Here.
Councilmember Lauricella.
Here.
Councilmember Pearson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Moss.
Here.
And Mayor Whalen. You have a quorum.
Present. Thank you very much. Now, if you'd please stand and join me briefly in a moment of silence. It seems like every week there's some tragedy around the world or at home. And this week, of course, we heard of the horrible natural disaster in Texas that's claimed the lives of so many individuals, including many, many children. So a moment of silence in honor of those families struggling with that, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, again, thank you all for coming tonight. It's a beautiful summer evening, and I hope you had a pleasant and safe 4th of July. The first section of tonight's agenda is our public comment section. And public comments are certainly welcomed both in person and via Zoom. Those of you who are here who have signed in on the public comment sheet, I will call on those in person first, followed by those who may be attending via Zoom. Again, the standard for public comment is you're allowed to speak to any matter related to city business. You have 3 minutes to make your public comment addressed to the body as a whole. We simply ask that you identify yourself for the record by name and your residence. So Paul Boki, Lakewood, Washington. So first on the public comment sign-in sheet is Duell Kiko. Yes, ma'am. If you'd like to speak.
Oh,
Welcome.
I have a problem about July 4th, and I had experience 2 times so far burning my yard, and so I worried about the future too. But I've been worried about the whole year round because of the fire. Because before the fire 2 years ago, I've been worried about fire all the time because fire work in residence area. It's the house next to next. It's not big house, small houses next to next. And why we allowed to do firework every July 4th and long hours. You know, people don't care about the time. Like they start like a 6, 7, even it's daylight, not in the dark. And there's firework until like after 12 midnight. And, you know, every year firework stuff created better or worse, you know. It's stronger, very strong. And I am a corner house, and those people near me, in front of the house and side of the house, they are gathered together. And one of the 3 houses, those people who does firework every year, they bring more friends. They do barbecue in the yard, and they get together and they put more fire together on the middle of the street, and they fire a lot. They put like 5, 6, 7 together all at once, and it seems like aiming towards my property. You know, my yard is get dirty, the leftover stuff every year, and my roof too. And I have to move my cars. I have 2, 3 cars, and I have to put the side of the yard, but still covered with those cracked, the leftover stuff on my car. And so because my corner is a little wider than the regular street, they come to this corner and burn more fireworks. So I feel every year, whole year round, I have to worry about for this July 4th every year. So I just wonder, I want the firework limit the location, not the
Mhm.
residential area, so, okay.
Can you let the clerk know your address, ma'am, and your name for the record?
I put this copy.
Oh, great, you have a letter there. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. The next is Haley Ivy.
Hello, I am a visitor to the area, a long-term visitor. I'm here teaching children nearby Lakewood, and I fell in love with this park, Edgewater Park, where it seems a lot of people really enjoy as well. And I did notice pretty quickly that there was trash and debris ranging from very small to large. And so in order to enjoy my time there, because I have a few wonderful sitting spots under the trees in the shade, watching people do their thing, I had to clean up the trash because it was very uncomfortable for me to sit and smell this trash. And so I started picking up the trash, taking it back to my place and disposing it of myself because I didn't notice the trash cans that were much farther off to the side than people are hanging out. July 4th week got very intense with the trash disposal onto the ground and into the water because people were coming out to enjoy the nice warm days, having a blast with their family, but unfortunately using single-use plastics and littering the ground and making it an uncomfortable spot to be. So there I was, taking it upon myself to clean up their trash every day, sometimes twice a day, because I really care about that park. I go to it, to chill out from the days with the children. But I do wonder who's taking care of that trash when I'm not around, because I can't imagine how much would have built up if I wasn't there. I also did notice, and I submitted online to the city, that there was a very large pile of trash that was very stinky near the pier, and somebody did end up setting up a hangout tent near that trash, almost as if they're so used to the trash around them that they're okay hanging out with all that trash. But it did look like it was removed. I don't know if it's because I submitted that comment, but then more trash was put into this area. So that's one thing. And I also do need to talk about the 4th of July. I am from a very wonderfully wild city, but never have I been bombarded with so much noise pollution from fireworks. It was lasting all week, all throughout the day. It was making the birds crazy. Every time one went off, the animals around were getting spooked, and so was I. Sometimes you don't notice because you want people to have fun, but it was unnecessarily noisy. Plus, with all of the racing cars near Edgewater Park, very, very noisy, very annoying to be out on my own front porch. And I've seen large piles of firework trash left all over the street surrounding Edgewater Park. It was so loud on the day of July 4th and lasted way past curfew. You have people in large boats presenting very loud music from the boats. It was a very loud day. The next morning, the day after 4th of July, someone shot a large explosive firework 20 feet from my head when I was standing outside of a store. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Christina Minetti.
Christina Minetti, Lakewood. I wanted to add to the previous speaker that my neighbor's daughter and her friend from Harrison Prep, they also went to Edgewater Park, I believe it was yesterday, to clean up trash. So there's plenty of trash for everybody to pick up. There's so much, a surfeit of trash. So probably if people can't behave themselves, I think that probably the park should be closed until people can prove that they can behave themselves on the water, with the trash, and with the fireworks. Okay, so my family and I urge the city of Lakewood to ban fireworks entirely, hopefully before the 31st of December. You can maybe fast track it. Fireworks are illegal in Steilacoom, they're illegal in Tacoma, in King County, as well as many other jurisdictions in Washington State. Why does Lakewood anachronistically cling to this environmentally and socially unsound tradition? The only logical reason is that for Lakewood, fireworks are another bread and circus technique to keep the masses content. The people want fireworks, so Lakewood allows them, and even profits a bit by getting extra money from their sales within the city limits. City Council, those are just not good enough reasons. That the city allows the pollution of water, air, and soil is unacceptable. The noise pollution created by fireworks is simply tremendous. I'm sure you all noticed. Many of them are probably illegal, right? But how, I don't know which ones are illegal. And by the time they go off, if you call 911 or whatever, I mean, they come and like, who's going to say who did it, right? So they need to be banned. As if it weren't bad enough, well, they're also, of course, they create tremendous amounts of noise pollution, as also the previous speaker was saying. And it's inexcusable. It's all inexcusable. It causes stress to humans, particularly those suffering from PTSD, but not only domestic animals and wildlife. The pollution is also accompanied by tremendous amounts of garbage that are unhealthy, bad for the environment, and an eyesore. You know, we'd already talked about the garbage. There is also the question of injuries. I don't know the data from Lakewood, but you might have heard in Seattle somebody lost their hand. 52 other people were reported with injuries, probably even more elsewhere, of course. From my own front door, I saw a young man up the road behind the holly hedge thing. He was hit by a firework as it launched, and it threw him to the ground. But he got up, so he was fine. Of course, if it went in his eye, he wouldn't be fine. Finally, it's especially stupid that Lakewood allows fireworks to be used on the 4th of July during the driest part of the year. The summer before last, residents, including us, receiving evacuation alerts because fireworks had started a wildfire in our own Fort Steilacoom Park. Wasn't that enough of a wake-up call for the city of Lakewood? Or are they waiting for more dramatic fires that will engulf entire houses? Or maybe even better yet, entire neighborhoods? The time to ban fireworks is right now. And now I have another comment. This is on behalf of the Gary Oak Coalition, also based in Lakewood. Also about the fireworks, it's environmentally unsound. It is unhealthy. It's air pollution, it's soil pollution, it is bad for the animals. Seriously, it is nesting season. I've got nests in my yard. You know, animals can die from loud noises. Have you had guinea pigs? I've had guinea pigs. Guinea pigs can die from sudden loud noises, and I'm sure that wild animals can too, because they're not used to this. It's not good for them. It's not healthy. And you know, you have rules about not cutting down trees when it's nesting season, right? You got to check, make sure there's, well, what about all the animals that are like, they have their babies, you know, the birds are nesting. It just doesn't make any sense. In addition, of course, there's the garbage. You know, so I would just ask on behalf of all of our members and supporters that you eliminate the risks of fireworks in Lakewood and the stress and the damage to wildlife and water. I mean, all the stuff that they shoot off at Lake Steilacoom, where do you think it goes? It goes into Lake Steilacoom. Who goes out there and picks it up? What do they do with little like sieves or what? I mean, I don't think that they're picking it up. It's just another source of pollution in the city that has enough sources of pollution already. So please, please reconsider the matter and eliminate fireworks from the city of Lakewood. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's the last individual who signed up, but feel free to, no, you're fine. You're more than welcome to approach. I just wanted to let everybody know they have an opportunity to queue up. Thank
Hello,
you.
my name is John Roselle, and I live next to Filth and Squalor. My neighbor has rented tents to the homeless for 4.5 years. I've been calling code enforcement. Their response is, it's not illegal to camp in your backyard. Nobody's camping. There's homeless people in tents. That's a humanitarian crisis. And there's also nonstop illegal construction every single day. And there's already 2 stop work orders on 10116 U Lane Southwest. And there have been previous stop work orders before. I don't know what his plan is, but he's an absentee slumlord that does not live there. but he rents out tents, and for $200, you can have a tent, a water hose, and an electrical line out to your tent and live there. And nothing is being done, no matter what I do. So there's two separate issues. There's the illegal construction and the homeless people that have been living in tents since the pandemic. I'd have pictures here. They are dated. You can see them. I'm gonna start sending them to Como News, to Cairo News, invite these people in my backyard, look at the squalor, look at the homeless situation right next to my house, and it does not stop. And I have some more pictures here.
No, I appreciate that. If
you'd
you
like
hand
to-
those to the clerk, that would be great. Mr. Rosal, I thought we had heard from you via an online submittal. Did code enforcement or public works or anyone get back to you on that?
They are working on this right now. The illegal construction is a process. Meanwhile, the slumlord, the absentee slumlord, has physically threatened me for reporting the situation. The
But-
city's reported. He's done work with this.
All right, thank you. But the city, it sounds like they are working on the issue right now. Okay, great, thank you.
Hello, good evening to everyone. My name is Ibrahim Mir Jalili. I'm a resident of Lakewood. Yeah, regarding this firework, any of you would like to come, I can take you to my home and you can see there is the remnant of it on my yard. I don't know where it came from. This is not the first time. And there is really no hours. It's like 24/7. And on one hand, I don't know what is the statistic on possible houses set on fire because of it or not. But regardless, that's with those type of fireworks, that's a real possibility. It is really dangerous. It's not just the noise pollution, just the environment pollution. It is really a risk to the life of the people and to the wealth of this city and the air that everybody breathe and the water they drink and among other things. And it's the money that is smoked up. That money can be invested in other means, encourage the resident to maybe have a project that would benefit them all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience who wishes to provide public comment this evening? If you would like to, feel free, you're welcome. Seeing no others here in the, feel free.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Mark Hare. I'm a Lakewood resident. I just would like to tell you, in the times that we live in the world that we live in, where there's so much chaos, I very much appreciate the support that you offer for this city and its residents. Through the way of policy that comes out of this body, your participation in community events, and in allowing things that otherwise, in other parts of the country, we've seen things made illegal or banned, if you will. Those things take away from community. And here in Lakewood, we're a shining, daggone bright star of community. And I want to say, I appreciate you standing on your feet and your firm shoulders and allowing our citizens to bask in the glory that is this great nation. Things like fireworks matter. It's one day a year. Yes, I know it goes a little long. It probably starts a little early. These things are important to continue the principles of this nation, of the people who go and fight. You have the flags behind you of all the services of our United States military. As I sit here, I just cannot let this opportunity pass to remember all of the men and women who went out and fought for those flags and that red, white, and blue flag right behind you, so that we can enjoy these and continue to enjoy these opportunities to come together and remember where we came from and why we are a nation in the first place, why we came here, why we started, and why we continue to fight and bleed for this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience before I turn to those who are appearing virtually. Seeing no additional folks in the audience wishing to provide public comment, Madam Clerk will turn to those who are raising their hand virtually. The first is Mr. Dennis Haugen.
Yeah, Dennis Haugen here from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I've been here 5 years now, and I learned something about how to determine competence. We have Governor, whom I'm sure you've heard of, Governor Kristi Noem, handled riots here with good planning, worked with the National Guard ahead of time, all the other police departments, and when they came to town and to protest and they started breaking the law, she was here with the National in about 11 minutes. That's competence. That's competent because I can compare it with a lot of governors, elected officials who act completely in the opposite, which is incompetence. Something struck me last time I called, you were talking about planning. Well, your planning has got too much influence coming from the state and the federal government, which you're not able to fight off. You're one of maybe 10 or 11 states where elected officials encourage people to break the law. And elected officials getting arrested for assaulting ICE agents. Those are law enforcement agents. And I'm thinking that, that a lot of your problems come from your planning, because your planning has too much influence coming down from the state and the federal government. That's what you have to fight. And one of the things I noticed about your zoning, I mean, you're taking expensive areas where expensive homes are and zoning in a way that there can be rentals on it. You don't know much about real estate value. And who knows what's there? You're allowing, we got what, 20 million people in here illegally who cross the border illegally? There's a reason for going through the port. It's so that you can be vetted, so they can figure out if you're a drug dealer or you're committing all kinds of crimes. But our governor now, of course, is head of Homeland Security. And luckily, she's extremely competent. Several programs going, getting people incentivized to get back out of the country and come back here legally. Being a sanctuary state is like a rope around your neck. Get rid of it.
Next is James Dunlop.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is James Dunlop, and I am a resident of Lakewood. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about fireworks. I think that part of the problem that Lakewood has surely is that other cities adjoining Lakewood have different rules regarding fireworks. So basically, what's going to happen if you have got a city which has the most lax rules, then everything is going to spill over into Lakewood, and so Lakewood could be in quite a bad place, if it's attracting the lowest common denominator. Now, as far as community is concerned, I mean, is it really about community allowing people to do whatever they want with fireworks? There is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a rule in Lakewood City Code that you should not be able to hear what your neighbor's music within 50 yards from the boundary line. So you could really apply the same for fireworks. You should not, if your neighbor wants to release fireworks on their property, fair enough, provided they can't be heard. So I think that kind of spoils the fun of fireworks, doesn't it? But I think if you reduce community to, community, what's great about our community, it is, so community orientated that you can put up fireworks, but you can race. This is not really about community. I think that this is about individuals having no regard to their fellow members of community. One thinks about communities and fireworks. Okay, if you had some city firework display on sort of in Stillicum Park, okay, you might say that gives a sense of community, but sort of individuals just making loud noises, I don't think that gives us any great feeling of community. And I don't know about how it relates to the United States. I mean, obviously, I'm not an American citizen, but I would have thought you would have hoped that being America is more than just about the. So, how much time have I got? The clock is all over the place.
Yeah, the clock had a little bit of a challenge there. We'll give you another minute, Mr. Dunlop. How's
Okay.
that?
Okay. So, I mean, I think that I think America is more than just about fireworks. And I mean, I would have thought if you as Americans don't want to just be able to define yourself, going above all the divisions within society, but somehow fireworks unifies you. I just don't think that is the case. So I think that there is really a very good argument. Plus, from a moral perspective, we just saw that someone lost a hand in Seattle. So is allowing fireworks in Lakewood worth one person loses an eye, loses a hand? That's a life-changing injury, all because of Lakewood's lax rules on fireworks. And I think, so in terms of those making the rules, I think that in a way there is a responsibility there. And I think that no one would want that on their conscience. And I think that finally, I just think that most people in Lakewood, if you had a poll, if you had a ballot, I suspect, maybe wrong, that most people in Lakewood would want a ban on fireworks. I don't know, I may be wrong, but my guess is that they would want a ban. Maybe you can put it to the test.
Thank you. That's the last virtual hand I see raised, Madam Clerk. I'll leave it open for just a second or two to make sure we've captured everyone. You see any other virtual hands raised to provide comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll declare the public comment period closed. We'll now turn to the consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
Approval of minutes of the City Council meeting of June 16th, 2025. B, approval of claim vouchers in the amount of $6,550,740.14 for the period of May 16th, 2025 through June 13th, 2025. C, approval of payroll checks in the amount of $3,394,993.93 for the period of May 16th, 2025 through June 15th, 2025. D, motion number 2025-42, authorizing lodging tax funding allocation in the amount of $9,000 for Sister City Gimhae Delegation K-pop visit for tourism. E, motion number 2025-43, authorizing the execution of an amendment to the agreement with Greater Lakes Mental Health for 2 mental health professionals. F, motion number 2025-44, approving the 2026 South Sound Housing Affordability
You made a
Partnership
mistake.
budget allocation. Motion number 2025-45, authorizing the execution of an amendment to the Home Investment Partnerships American Rescue Plan Program subrecipient agreement. H, motion number 2025-46, authorizing the execution of interlocal agreements with the Washington State Department of Social and Health Services for the Community Partnership and Police Protection Programs. I, items filed in the office of the city clerk, including 1, Community Service Advisory Board's meeting minutes of January 15th, 2025. 2, American Lake Management District Number 1 Advisory Committee meeting minutes of March 4th, 2025.
Well, thank you very much. Is there any item which any member of the council wishes to remove from consent agenda consideration? Mr. Brandstetter.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove item H.
Very good. Are there any other items which any council member wishes to remove from consent agenda consideration at this time? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda minus item H?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Pearson, seconded by Councilmember Laura Sella, that we adopt the consent agenda as presented minus item H. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
She's going to get me.
The consent agenda minus item H has been adopted. We now move to item H, which is motion number 2025-46, authorizing the execution of interlocal agreements with the Washington State Department of Social and Health Services for the Community Partnership and Police Protection Programs. To get this for consideration, do we have someone who will move and second adoption of motion 2025-46? Then we'll have discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move adoption of the motion 2025-46.
Second. And moved by Councilmember Branstetter, seconded by Councilmember Pearson, that we adopt motion 2025-46. Discussion, Mr. Branstetter?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. This is a motion that is looking to provide the funding and the agreements to provide the funding from DSHS to the city for police services that support Western States Hospital. The police services contract for $90,000 is over 2 years is something that's standard and has been done going on off, but it's combined in this motion with the community policing thing. And the community policing program is one that we deal with every legislative session because we have to re-get it authorized as a special thing and it becomes a legislative priority for us. And we've been trying to get it increased to keep up with inflation, and we were advised that the legislature had authorized $640,000 over 2 years for this program. And I have to say my assumption was that when they did that, that meant that there would be $320,000 a year that would be payable to the city of Lakewood to pay for our costs to partner with DSHS to provide this program. And I'm concerned that the contract amendment for the program, which is documented on the form that's on page 130 of our packet. Okay, yes, the contract amendment, community partnership, City of Lakewood, Western States Hospital. And I'm believing that this form is a DSHS generated form. But it requires signatures, and this motion is to authorize our interim city manager to sign it for us to be able to go and do that. And my concern with it is that although the program is documented and it shows an increase of $640,000 to cover the next 2 years, that when you get to page 131, instead of $640,000 being allowed to the city of Lakewood over those 2 years, the section 6 says that the maximum for coming to the city of Lakewood is $622,000. And I'm trying, and I would, that doesn't sound like what I understood from to be the intent of the legislature when they authorized the $640,000 for this biennium coming up to do that. And so I'm concerned that that without resolving that discrepancy with DSHS, that whether we really want city manager to sign this agreement with that $622,000 maximum as opposed to the $640,000 maximum for the 2 years.
Thank you. There is perhaps a typographical error in the body of paragraph 6, but paragraph 6D does provide the breakdown for the 2 years within the biennium at 320 each for a total of 640. So I don't know why they have the 622, but it does appear that their 640 is the authorized amount. Ms. Kraus.
It appears to be a scrivener's error on their end. If the city council approves the city manager sign into this contract, we wouldn't sign it. I wouldn't sign it until we get that piece resolved. But the intent is, as Councilmember Stander said, it's 640,000. And so 320,000 per year. As itemized below is the correct number. It's up on top is using an old number.
Maybe they can do a switch of the page if need be
Yeah.
prior to signing.
Yeah.
But fair point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, well, and certainly is, it's more of an attention to, I think we want to get this signed. We want the interim city manager to sign it, but it's a question to make sure that we don't have a discrepancy of an amount we don't want.
Absolutely. Well, with that clarification and the response from the city manager, is there any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor of motion 2025-46, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion 2025-46 has been adopted. That cleans up and finalizes the consent agenda. We now move to the regular agenda. I don't see any unfinished or new business unless I'm incorrect, Ms. Kraus. So then we'll turn straight to reports by the city manager.
Sure. So there were quite a few emails that I had sent out to the city council, but the first one I wanted to touch up on is the Street Ends volunteer program update. And just wanted to let you know that we are working on that program, but it will take some time. There are some processes and actions items that are needed, and they include the legislative portion, which is updating the resolutions for Adopt a Site and Adopt a Street to formally include the street ends. It also includes work on the guidelines and applications. Updates to the parks volunteer program materials are required to comply with state law regarding medical aid coverage and city indemnification protocols. These changes will ensure the city remains in compliance and volunteers are adequately protected while participating. Site selection criteria, given the safety and the liability implications, eligible street end sites will be limited to those that are publicly accessible, low risk, and meet minimum safety thresholds. Our Public Works and Planning Department is currently conducting the site assessments to establish a baseline inventory of viable locations. Surveys are needed. A number of significant street ends lack definitive property boundary information. So to avoid unintentional trespass on private property, surveys will be required for the site deemed eligible. Current survey scheduling estimates are 3 to 4 months lead time from request to completion. As for permits, Public Works and Planning will implement an annual permitting process to cover the authorized activities at eligible street end sites. This approach will eliminate the need for volunteers to obtain separate right-of-way liability insurance. All volunteers will receive site-specific training to ensure compliance with permit conditions and avoid unintentional violations. So we are working on this program and we'll provide more updates as we have them. So we've heard some comments today about the fires, and I wanted the city council to know that we are anticipating a calls for service report from our police department. Some preliminary information is some brush fires that occurred and a house fire, but I'll get more information for this upcoming report. There's also been questions on the status of the H barn update. So I wanted to let you know that we received the cost estimates, but that's just about all. We have not had time to review it and confirm the numbers and just validate, understand the calculations and such. So as soon as I have that, I will share that with the city council. My last update is on the upcoming events. Tomorrow, we have the change of command for Joint Base Garrison at JBLM. The award ceremony starts at 9:45 a.m. On July 8th, also the same day in the afternoon, we have a retirement ceremony in honor of Colonel Kent Park at the Bistro at Russell Landing. July 8th, we have the Neighborhood Association for Telecom in Woodbrook that has been confirmed. July 8th, we also have Summer Nights at the Pavilion concerts, and it's Candy Shop that is performing at Fort Steilacoom Park. On July 10th, we've also confirmed the Neighborhood Association meeting at Lake City. July 11th, we have change of command for Colonel at JBLM. July 15th, we also have another change of command ceremony. July 17th is desserts on the driveway at Springbrook Park. July 17th, our Gimhe delegation will have the welcome dinner at the Country Club. July 19th is the Summerfest at Fort Steilacoom Park. July 19th, we'll also have the Gimhe delegation farewell event. July 24th, we have the Samoa Cultural Day Community Dinner at the Emerald Queen Casino. July 29th, desserts on the driveway in the Oakbrook neighborhood for the Oakbrook neighborhood at the Adriatic Grill or the Oakbrook Elementary School. And then July 29th, Summer Nights at the Pavilion. We have the Radio 80s. July 30th, we have the Employee Recognition Picnic at Fort Steilacoom Park, and that takes us through August. And that concludes my update.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions of Ms. Kraus? Mr. Branstetter?
Thank you. Ms. Cross, thank you for the email and the summary around progress on the Street Ends volunteer program that can move forward. I think that I am glad to see that we're going to start the program off by with a limited number of street ends of where probably the benefit to the community would be both maximized by some volunteer effort and being able to go and do that. And that we've worked around the permitting issue as to not making that an obstacle to participation, but to make sure that things are done legally, but also that the people are protected, but that, volunteers who are really, if they adopt a street end, are really doing work that's the city's responsibility that we've been neglectful of for a couple decades. However, I am concerned about the paragraph around survey needs. When we did the last update to the comprehensive plan, we did include some policy that we were going to work to resolve the issues of encroachments on survey to needs. And that's quite a different issue that I would really not like to see combined into this project, and this project being a tool to try to resolve those. I do think that a selected site could be made available to be enhanced through volunteer effort. And if there are, and that could be done by a meeting with the neighbors. And if there is an encroachment, this is not the way to do that. I mean, the city just doing a survey, we have had experience recently with surveys and then surveys by another person who got a survey to be able to go and do that. I do think that this program could be initiated on a particular site by acknowledging that there may be some encroachment, but at least coming to an understanding about, okay, what is this area that volunteers can work on, even if that is being done and does not include encroachment concerns that exist or may, or do not, be able to go through and do that. You know, a group that is volunteering to work on a site, I think we could get the neighbors and the group together and come to an understanding about where is the area that work can be done without having to have a survey, because that's a separate issue from the city legally resolving an encroachment issue with some property owners. And almost all the sites would have area that there's not dispute of. And I think we could get started on that rather than waiting, as this talks, 3 to 4 months and then additional time after a survey to do that. Acknowledge that there's some disagreement about the boundary, but there ought to be able to come to some agreement about where is the area that there's no disagreement about, and that the program can get started on in terms of being able to go and do that. Don't want to give the authority to volunteers to do something, to be in an area where there's disagreement, but I don't want to hold up doing it just to resolve another issue that needs to be worked on, that is totally apart from the efforts that volunteers want to do to make the community better. So I guess I would, Ms. Gross, I'd really like to just relook as to, rather than a survey being the only way in which we can decide where volunteers can work, I think sit down and at least agree on the areas where there's not disagreement,
Yeah.
so that volunteers can do something for the betterment of the community. And that's a statement, not a question. So I do appreciate that the fact that the program is looking to move forward.
Very good. Mr. Floricella?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will pile on to what Councilmember Branstetter said when talking about street ends and what was presented to us. If there's opportunity to expedite these processes or have them run in parallel, I think that would help us to get access for the people in our community who deserve it. So anywhere where we can speed that up would be great. If we don't need to necessarily wait for surveys because we can agree on what we can agree on and not disagree on what we don't disagree on, I think that sounds good as well. Once surveys are completed, I think that will point out where we do have encroachment issues. And as soon as we know that, we need to do something about it. We've had a couple examples that have been shown to us already, and we need to make sure that we are protecting what is ours. So I guess my question on this, is there a place where we can expedite this process by running these in parallel?
Well, I think for sure we're gonna, by our own agreements and consent and direction, we're going forward with the West Shore proposal where we've already budgeted money to do it, quote unquote, right. But I think your comments are well taken on some of the others, and we've talked ad nauseum over the years about what's topographically feasible, what isn't, you know, what access is reasonable. But I agree, but perfection is the enemy of the good. So if we can get good access as best we can with agreement of the adjoining neighbors, that's copacetic with the process you've outlined to keep everybody, you know, in the right vector, doing the right thing for the benefit of the community. That's the approach we should take. So, any other questions of Ms. Kraus before we turn to council comments in general? Well, very good. Well, why don't we go ahead and start then, Mr. Branstetter, with you. Any particular comments tonight?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I did attend, along with Councilmember Bell, the AWC annual conference in Kennewick. It was something that I was glad that I went and did. That there were a couple of things that I guess that I would highlight from the conference. And to really be honest, the first was the fact that you know, the student that you nominated, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Corona Hernandez, did receive one of the Quality Community Scholarships, and she is in fact the seventh Lakewood student to receive one since the program's inception 14 years ago. And that surpasses the number that any other city has done. And in addition to the $3,000 scholarship from the AWC Center for Quality Communities, that Comcast also provided her and the other two recipients each a computer. And she had an opportunity to speak to the assembled attendees at the conference, and spoke well. Okay, I heard quite a few comments both from other attendees and from AWC staff about what a remarkable young woman she is, with a great deal of potential to be able to go and do that. For those of you that weren't able to be there, I did get one of the forms that were at the fundraising luncheon for the scholarship program to, I mean, you know, put in your box so that you would have an opportunity. The number of scholarships that they've awarded each year has varied, and it varies based on their fundraising for the program. And they used to award 7 or 8 in some years, but the scholarship were smaller. So they've sort of settled on $3,000 as a meaningful amount to a student with a great deal of potential. And so there was an urging to contribute, and while I didn't want to deprive any of you of the opportunity, so for those of you who weren't there, I brought you a form so that you could do that, because they do take them, other than you didn't have to be sitting at a table in a room to donate. There were a number of other things that happened at the conference, and a significant theme had to do with the culture within police departments, a topic that we've discussed over the amount of time, but there were multiple breakout sessions and do that, and a variety of folks that are there. There were no magic solutions to that, but the various chiefs that spoke around that issue in a number of forums all talked about their departments having some similarity to ours, in that they have multi-generational police forces, and that the motivation to even become police officers, of the officers who are been joining the ranks in the past 5 years, is different than the motivation to become police officers of the officers that joined 25 years ago. And that so some of the chiefs talked about trying to lead 2 departments. and being able to go and do that. And if there was a consensus, it was that departments are changing and that that everyone in departments needs to own the change that needs to take place, because it's not just the police officers in their view of their role that's changing, but it's that the community's role of what they expect to be able to be and how to interact with the police department goes on, and that there needs to be things accordingly. So, we have talked over the time of the COVID pandemic and things about one being focused on our department and what do we need to do to maintain staffing, okay, and trying to create a thing to where we're a desirable department for folks to go to, and we've been successful at that. And we can go through and got to go through and do that. But I guess what I learned is that that's not a static thing. You just don't fix it. You keep working at it in an ongoing basis, and that's what goes on. If there was something that was missing from the conference, it was there wasn't anybody there either from AWC or from the MSRC or from anywhere in the state that was willing to speak up or give advice about how to deal with the indigent defense cliff that's coming up. Part of that was some information about that came out very shortly before the conference, and so they had already published an agenda, and so they just didn't add it. There were some assurances that there would be at least forums to discuss what are we going to do and what is everybody else doing before too long, but no specifics. But there were a lot of people at the conference who were attendees that I talked to, that particularly from the mid-size in large cities and towns that had their own municipal courts. They all recognize how that is going to work to do that. So I think there is going to be a sharing of ideas ahead. It's just that there weren't any ideas that anybody was ready to share yet to be able to go on. And I think that's all I have to report back, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thanks for attending the conference and for the report. Councilmember Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for everyone for picking up the slack while I was gone. So, yeah, looking forward to enjoying. We got summer nights at the park tomorrow, so I'm gonna try to get out there for that. And I don't have anything to report of past few weeks. I've been MIA, so
Very good.
thank you.
You are MIA in the right place, it looks like, so good for you. Councilmember Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I too went to the AWC conference and it was a great event. I think I went to probably some different tracks that you did, because my focus, what I thought was really came across, was AI and how it's impacting the city. So there was a lot of talks on that. There was, someone from Microsoft who was one of the main speakers. We talked a lot about how it's impacting our business use, public records, you name it. So I thought that that was very fascinating and something that we definitely need to keep in the forefront. It was also a really great networking opportunity. I was able to get around and meet a lot of people. It felt a little odd not to have a city manager there, or, even mayor there. So but it was a really awesome event. It's great to connect to our other cities. I really think that, and I'm going to put this out to us, we probably should get on some of the AWC boards or try to. And I think that I would like to put that out as a challenge to the rest of my council members that, and myself too, that we apply for some AWC boards to really amplify Lakewood's voice on that front. So
Good idea.
that's my takeaway from that. And I also went to the farmer's market last week. I did see I saw you from afar though. But it was great. The music was wonderful. The weather was fantastic. There was just really good food out there for the farmer's market. Everybody just seems so energized and really loves it. So I want to thank our staff for continuing that, making it grow. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Lauricella.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too enjoyed the last couple of weeks off. It's nice to see everyone's faces again as folks have traveled. Everyone looks good, so I appreciate how everyone's doing. Farmers market last week, as Councilmember Bell said, was great. Again, there's so many different food options, and I try and get something different every time, and it's always good. So shout out to our staff for that. In regards to some of the public comment stuff tonight, talking about fireworks, I think maybe after things have cooled down, so to speak, we can have a discussion, maybe a public forum or a public hearing or some method of getting the voice of the public out so we can hear what people think about potentially putting a moratorium on fireworks or an outright ban. I know I've heard from my neighbors that they don't necessarily appreciate stuff going off. The fires that happen around the city are always bad. And I think it's something to discuss the pros and cons of and hear what the community has to say. The last item I have accepted a role with South Sound 911. But as a result of that, I need to step down from their board of directors. So I will need someone from our council to step up. Currently, Councilmember Brandstetter is my alternate. And if he's up for it, it might make sense to do that through the end of the year. And then as we get into January, we can reselect someone.
Very good. Well, we can either chat about that tonight or certainly at the next meeting.
Yeah, sounds
But
good.
think about that. We don't need to decide tonight, but thank you for that. So I assume stepping down is immediate from the board position. Do you know when the next meeting is?
I don't. I believe it's middle of the month.
Okay, we can find that out and probably get it staffed. Since Mr. Brandstetter is the alternate anyway, in the absence of a final appointment for the duration for the primary, I assume you could attend that meeting as the alternate for Southside 911. Yeah, very good.
Hey, can start January 3rd.
Sure. Great. Yep, fair enough. Thank you.
All right, and that's all I have. Thank
Very
you.
good. Mr. Boki.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just so for the record, I went nowhere.
Oh,
and
good.
I'm
Duly noted.
I'm a bit bitter about it, but beyond that, I did have a very good time. Couple of items: desserts in the driveway at LASA, which the deputy mayor and I attended. Very nice event, small event, but they mentioned that they were going forward with their project because, of course, we have ARPA money in, the county has ARPA money in. I know there's information in our packet tonight, so we're all looking forward to the end of August when that will start to get built. So the next night was the Fort Silicon Park Neighborhood Association at the Pavilion, candidates forum and various things like that, but the police chief was there. Some things did come up, and I've forwarded those to the deputy mayor regarding streetlights in an individual's neighborhood. And then so I'm going to divert now. The street ends. So that street ends came up, and I actually went on a tour of the Westlake one and the 100th one. To your point, and I am with you guys on, no, I don't think we need surveys on every one of these. You get the idea where the dang street end is, but the Westlake one, the stake from the survey is actually inside the fence of the neighbor's place. So you get the idea here that when we open this
Can of
can of worms.
Mhm.
It's not going to be, not everybody's going to be happy. And I think it'll be interesting, but there are people ready to go on the volunteer side. So they are ready to begin to work. And I think that we should take advantage of that. So I agree that working around and saying, here's some sites where you can do some cleanup, that we can deliver something where you can put the refuse in would be great. Went to the farmer's market and the concert. That thing is just incredible, how it operates, the number of people who are there on any given evening. I have a shape meeting this Friday that I'll be online for. I think that's it. I thought I had one more item in my little head here. Desserts in the driveway.
There's a lot of overlapping complications with desserts in the driveway with multiple
Yes.
events on the same.
Yeah, okay, so I wish you hadn't brought that up.
You're welcome.
We're gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the idea behind desserts in the driveway was that we were gonna have 40 of them a year and they were
Right.
always gonna be on a Tuesday competing with other items. And that's kind of what's happened. And I don't know why, not casting dispersions, but we need to figure this out.
Yeah, they need to, our neighborhood administrator coordinator needs to work with the city manager and kind of figure that out a little bit, because we have too many competing places to be in the same night, and that wasn't the intent. Ms. Kraus.
And so we've had that conversation.
Good.
And that will be taken under consideration, and we will avoid double booking or getting too many things that are conflicting. But I will tell you that the September 11th event, the Desserts on the Driveway has been canceled for the 911, 9/11
Okay.
recognition. So.
Great, thank you.
So I have one more thing.
Sure.
His comments.
Yep.
And I forget the man's name, so I apologize.
John Rosal.
We really need to deal with that. I mean, this is why we have our rules in place, our blighted property things in place, clearly.
Ms. Kraus may have a response already. Were you waiting?
I mean, I can do a satellite image on Google and I don't know how old that thing is. And you can see there's stuff back.
It's a mess. Yeah,
It's a mess.
it's a
So
mess.
we have photos here, so we'll look into this
Yep.
and address it, but it's quite a sight.
It's a mess. Yeah, we looked at, I know that Public Works and code enforcement has started it, but it would be good to get an update so that we can provide a qualitative piece of feedback to the homeowner. So thank you for that.
And one more item.
Yep,
I
sure.
drove by Edgewater Park and I guess we need more garbage cans because there are people using the new lot, even though it's only been like mowed or something or
Right.
weed whacked. So people are already down there this weekend using it.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll comment on that when I get my shot. But Deputy Mayor, you're next. See, I remembered you.
First time?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just gonna make a comment on the fireworks. For us to ban fireworks, there's no way we can control it. Because unless the police is right there to see them do it, even though it's banned, it's nothing we can do about it. So that was why we came to the conclusion of allowing it just the one day. And I get it. I have the noise as well. I understand, but for us to ban it, we're setting ourselves up to fail because it's
Right.
not something that we can follow through with and make sure it happens. So just so you understand that, it's not that we don't care. We do care. We just can't ban it completely and control it. So just wanted to make that comment. So I appreciate the comments that were made tonight. I did attend the candidates in the candidate forum at the pavilion, and I thought that went really good. Three of the council potentials were there, and the questions were good. It was very pleasant, actually. And speaking of that, I have the Telecom Neighborhood Association meeting tomorrow night. So
Great.
join me. No. a dessert on the driveway at Lhasa was really good. From what I understand, I think the couple that was there is going to start a dessert in their driveway or something to kind of support, because they've been having some issues there. Yeah, so I did make the farmer's market last week, the first time, so it was exciting. And the police did do a good update at the pavilion, the Canada's Forum at the pavilion. That was good that he was there and was able to answer some of the questions, but it was very pleasant, very well attended, and people enjoyed it. And it was something else I was going to say. I didn't write it down, so that's it.
Very good. Short and to the point. Well, thank you very much. Unlike Mr. Boki, I did have the chance to go somewhere for the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I appreciate being back. I did get a chance to travel overseas simply because I had a good friend whose son was getting married in Poland. And so it was an opportunity to go somewhere we'd never been before, and it was really fabulous. The thing that I always enjoy observing when I go on jaunts is public spaces and public art, and how communities interact with one another, utilizing well-designed and well-loved public spaces. And there certainly was no shortage of those in the communities in Europe, Poland, and Germany that I visited. And it reminds me how important those generational investments can be. And I'm very proud of this council for making that generational investment in the new downtown city park, whatever we're going to call it. I refer to it as the downtown city park. It's a little sexier than saying the former QFC property. So, you know, whatever we're going to call it, the downtown city park or whatever. But I do hope that we can kind of get moving on the design piece of that sooner than later, like as in this year, as in this summer, as in last week, just so we can move forward expeditiously on that, because it's really important to do the work well. And I appreciated receiving the City Vision magazine this week, and it has as its front article, "Cities and Towns Embrace Outdoor Recreation to Advance Broader Community Goals," which to me is, you know, speaking just on my own self here, I think that particular park has an incredible opportunity to be a catalyst for that kind of outdoor recreational opportunities, whether it's a spray pad we've talked about, whether it's potential pickleball courts down there. The National Fitness Campaign has contacted me again with regard to their fitness pad that we talked about as possibly a sponsorship with Lakewood Rotary a couple of years ago. That's that 40 by 40 fitness pad where they actually help provide funding in part for it. So all sorts of opportunities, but it starts with planning and public input. So I'm looking forward to that next week. I'm kidding the city manager as I'm saying that, because she knows I have the patience of Job. I appreciate that. But speaking of public parks and art, again, I got a chance to look at a lot of wonderful pieces of art. And the thing that was amazing about good public art is it's accessible. It is something you touch and feel. There were some beautiful pieces, big, cool sculptures. And the neat thing about it, kids were climbing on it and enjoying it, and families were taking photographs with their kids. And, you know, those are the things that really help pay and play it forward when it comes to our downtown places and spaces that generations will enjoy as a result of our investment. So speaking of investments, Edgewater Park over the weekend and the 4th of July, I obviously live right around the corner there. I think Edgewater Park will be a gem. I can tell you it is currently well loved because there are lots of people on every little stretch of, you know, turf that they could put a towel down and enjoy it and lay down and have some time with their families and their children there in the water. I do agree that we need to think about getting a larger trash container there. As Mr. Boki indicated, even though we had cones up on the property that we acquired, people were using that as a parking area, which was fine by me because it was getting them off the street, frankly. And, you know, it's a flat piece of land that is fine to use it for that purpose, but we need to be mindful the people will be using it. And there were folks fishing off that dock. There were people in the water. There were people boating, paddleboarding, kayaking. It was wonderful to see that. But we need to be mindful that we promised this community that if we were going to invest and open up Edgewater Park to more activities, that we would make it safe and we would keep it clean. We promised. And we need to fulfill that promise and get those, maybe even a large commercial container out there on that parcel that we just acquired, because there's space to tuck it away there, and perhaps put signage up, please take care of your park and remove your trash and put it away appropriately. So I hope we can do that. The change of command and all the other events coming up. Is Brianna in this week?
You should have it on your calendar, but I'll double check.
It is on the calendar. I just wanted to double check that I RSVP'd to be there.
For tomorrow's event?
Yeah.
I believe you are.
Okay.
But we'll
So I
double
just
check.
wanted to make sure that I just don't show up and say, hey, I'm here, and create a problem. So I would like to show up for that if I did RSVP. And then I think there's that evening event for him as well, or afternoon event. So great meeting tonight. I think we got lots of good public comment on things. We certainly can talk about fireworks yet again. It's one of those topics that we seem to chat about every year at this time for some reason. And I think the deputy mayor is spot on, because we did make some revisions to the code a few years back to accommodate many of the concerns and limited the scope to the one day. I can tell you, again, living on Lake Steilacoom, that it was an absolute, I don't want to say war zone, but it was kind of a war zone, but it was beautiful to watch. And I didn't notice a lot of trash in the water because I went out there on the water for 2 days following July 4th. I didn't see a lot of trash, but I'm sure that there probably was some, but people seem to have cleaned it up. And from my perspective, again, viewing it from my vantage point, which was kind of front and center to a lot of it, people closed down right before midnight. That was consistent with our code. So I didn't hear a lot after that. Not that there weren't areas in the city that had it, but I think people were trying to be respectful of the timeframes. And certainly the large function of people that we had down there enjoyed the evening. So I'm sure that we'll have more discussion on it though in the future. So in the absence of any other alibis for the good of the order, thank you for your attention tonight. Thank you, staff, for putting this evening together. Mr. Brandstetter?
I was wondering whether you were going to address that you were putting together something on the late afternoon of the 19th as a departure. And I was trying to understand what that would be in that time window. And if you had some idea what you were thinking with respect to the delegation from Gimhe.
Sure. I was asked by staff to host the Gimhe delegation and members of council and their spouses for that, whatever, 2 or 3 hour block of time in the afternoon on the 19th, which is Summerfest Day, but it's in the afternoon. I think Ms. Krause can put out the details of that. And I said, absolutely, I'd be happy to host. So that's kind of what we're doing at our place. And I think it's 8-ish people from Korea that we're hosting.
I'll follow up with an email tomorrow, now that it sounds like the time has been confirmed as well as the location.
And I can speak with you and Ms. Grimley about kind of the food piece, because I've got potentially that covered if you don't.
Yes.
So we can work on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? We are not having an executive session tonight. So the city attorney advised me that will be stricken from our agenda for this evening. So there will be no executive session, and unless there are any further comments for the good of the order, we're adjourned.